Okay, Levi, take it away.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Today I am going to talk to you primarily about AI as a tool for creative individuals. I teach uh, I'll go over my title. So I am the lead instructional librarian at the Westminster campus at Front Range Community College. So I am a librarian, an MLS librarian. I am also adjunct faculty for the Business for Creative Industries program at Front Range, which is the new four-year program that we have going on here. And that class that I teach for that program is BCI 3030, which is creative tools and technology for creative industries. So what I do with that class is I introduce students to all of the AI tools that can help them get along as small businesses, as individual creators, as freelance creators. And I introduce them to the tools that might be the most helpful to them, even the ones that may not be helpful to them. So AI is permitted to be used in my class. It is encouraged to be used in my class in certain ways. And I wanted to kind of show all of you some of the tools that I introduced to my students in that class, and also kind of what tools are out there to potentially help you as creatives. And creative spans a wide range of things. I think a lot of folks think of, graphic design and potentially painting and things like that, but it really goes to a much larger gamut of things like music, and even other like CTE classes like nursing. I've had nursing students join me for this class. I've even had infrastructure students who do a lot of city planning type work. Uh, yeah, so for those of you that are doing the icebreaker, I'm watching the chat, and some of your answers are very interesting, so I appreciate you contributing to that. Essentially, I asked if you could use AI to help you with anything in your creative life, what would it be? And the examples that I had were an AI that could help you design an entire marketing campaign, or one that automatically generates website UI based on user behavior data, or one that designs logo or typography. And I have some answers in the chat that are really interesting. So there are AIs that can do space redesigns. I know that there are AI tools for typography for sure. Uh, and and Katie's worried that AI is going to put her out of a job. So this is how I learned to stop worrying and love AI. So this is kind of the point of this presentation, is that there is a lot that AI can do. There is even more that it cannot do. And there's a lot of stuff that it does completely wrong. So in my class where I encourage AI use to my students, I can even tell, because I've gone through this process, I can even tell which students have just plugged the assignments into AI and just not edited, not done their own research. And the way that I know that, first of all, is because I go through that myself. So I go through, ChatGPT and a few other services, and I plug in my prompt, whether that's my discussion post or, the assignment that they're supposed to be doing. And I look over what those answers are and what they sound like. Because AI, especially just raw ChatGPT, has a very specific way of speaking almost, and you learn to spot it after a while. But we'll get into that. So let me go back a slide here because it's just want to show. So this is me. And the other thing that I recently did that I thought was pretty cool was I got included in the Art of the State gallery show, which is at the Arvada Center, or it was, I don't know if it's still running, but and that artwork was generated, it was made with AI. So it was the final piece was generated with AI. I made like minor tweaks to it, but that got featured in a full gallery show. I've shown my work across Colorado at this point as an artist, working with generative AI. So it is possible. Uh, let me. All right. So I like this quote, and all the art that I'm using for this, obviously, like I made at some point in Midjourney. Um, And this is a quote from HAL 9000, which is, "Let me put it this way, Mr. Amore. The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information. We are all, by any practical definition of the words, foolproof and incapable of error." Um, this, of course, is not true of what we know as AI. If you look at the AI on Google alone, a lot of the answers that it gives you are incorrect. So, there's, again, like I said, there's a lot that AI can do. There's plenty more that it can't do. If you've ever tried to use ChatGPT to write a poem or a song, you will see what I mean very quickly. There's a lot that it's very limited, and there's a hard stop as far as what it knows, which is technically nothing, but it spots patterns. So this is a fun thing that I want to do as a group. I want you to spot the AI. Speaking of spotting AI, so which one of these images is created with AI? And you can post in the chat. I guess the red one is 1, and the black and white one is 2. So you can post in the chat which one you think it is. All right, we got red, we got both. Justin thinks it's 2. All right, we got another one for 2. That's 2 for 2. 3 for 2? Okay. So the hands look okay on 2. I know, yeah. That's usually what I use to spot it, but they're getting pretty good at it. All right, so I'll turn these over so y'all can see. All right, so yes, the red one was made with Midjourney. So for all of you that said 1, you were correct. And number 2 was made by a famous photographer, Abigail Heyman. And then there's another one because I like these. I think they're fun. And they kind of like get people, thinking about what AI looks like. So 1 or 2. All right, we got 2 for 2, 3 for 2, 4 for 2, 2 for 1, 2, 1. So this is a pretty even split. It's a little bit more for 2. All right, I'll go through and both. All right. I'll reveal it. All right, so the first one was made by illustrator Bruno Mangyoku, and the second one was made with Midjourney. So if you selected 2, You were correct. Um, and these are hard to spot. So if you guessed correctly, that's pretty impressive. I made these hard on purpose. And if you didn't guess correctly, don't feel bad. These are hard. I made these a little rough just because they're fun to do. All right, number one or number two, and this is the last one, and then we'll get into it. Got a bunch of ones and one, two, another two, one, two. Okay, so I'll reveal this one. All right, so yeah, so that one was the first one was Midjourney. Second one was by photographer Elliot Irwin. So yeah, the text in two is correct. You're right, Robin. So AI is not so awesome at text still. It is getting better. It's getting better at recognizing those patterns, but it is still rough. It's not like if you had a fence and you had that text behind it, I think that Midjourney or any other generator would have issues rendering that. I think it would muck it up more often than not. There are ways that you can manually correct that, like if you took it into Photoshop or something and fixed it, yourself. But if it's just straight up generated with Midjourney, it definitely has a hard time with text. Okay, so what AI services are out there? Okay, and the AI services that are out there that I tend to show students and sort of highlight is Midjourney. There's DALL-E, which is like an open AI generator. There's ChatGPT. There's Hemingway Editor. And we won't be going over all of these today just because like there's so many of them out there, but these are just the ones that I've used before and I highlight generally. Um, there's Buffer, there's Microsoft Copilot, and there is Adobe Firefly, there's Night Cafe, and there is Benchmark and Wix. Okay. Um, I have a subscription to Midjourney, so another thing that we're gonna do together is we will do a prompt, and we'll see what Midjourney creates. And I'll go into Midjourney a little bit because Midjourney is a really interesting platform and it is subscription based, so you do have to pay for it. But since I do a lot of artwork with it, I pay for it. So we'll also be going over some other tools here, like we might go into Adobe Firefly or something like that. Just so you can see like what's out there specifically and how they work specifically. Because I think AI is such a general nebulous idea for a lot of folks that you don't really know what's out there for you to help. With my students, when they take BCI, I sort of see them as sole proprietors. I usually see them as freelancers. Or people with very small teams because generally that's the way creative business works. It's like you and maybe like if you are lucky, five of your friends making something together. Um, Most of the time it's just you, especially if you're doing freelance. So once you get out into the creative professional world, you are now your finance guy, you're your CEO, you're your marketing guy, your PR, your HR. Um, you are the creative at the center of it all. You are your copywriter. You're your own editor. You have to, you're your own scheduler, your manager. You have to be everything at once. And it's a big job. It is overwhelming. Sometimes, you miss stuff, and that's just the way things are. And the AI services that I show my students are sort of intended to help them, you know, get all that stuff done without going crazy. Okay. And so that's why, like, on this list, and there's more than this. This is just the list that I came up for this presentation, but uh, these are tools that I've found that students can use very easily in order to help them, create a marketing campaign for themselves or create their own website, a portfolio website for themselves very easily, or an online store if they're selling like physical items, or if they need to write copy for themselves, if they need to raise money, or if they're doing like a crowdfunding campaign, things like that. By the way, if you have any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to post them in the chat. You won't be interrupting me. I'm happy to answer questions as we go. Okay, so a lot of folks talk about AI, especially with image generation, but they don't really kind of go into what it is to make an image with a creative tool like Midjourney, okay? And what is a prompt? Because that's also a sort of a nebulous idea. Okay, so a prompt is a text phrase that the AI interprets to produce a result. So in our case, in our instance, it's an image. You won't see the AI doing what it does, but it breaks down the words and phrases into a prompt into smaller pieces that are compared to its training data and then used to generate an image. So a well-crafted prompt can help make unique and interesting results. And there is a lot to prompt craft, and we'll go into a little bit of that because I do want to at least show you what the AI is doing and how it reads a prompt when you're using something like Midjourney. This doesn't necessarily apply to things like ChatGPT, because ChatGPT functions a little bit differently. The writing um, language learning models and the art AI generators, they work on similar principles, but not 100% the same. So this is how prompting sort of works. This is how it works specifically with Midjourney. And it works very similarly with things like Stable Diffusion, or Night Cafe, or even ChatGPT. Okay. Um, there's really no wrong way to prompt, but if you want to get more specific with what you are asking the AI to do, you want to be a little bit more specific with the language of your prompt. Okay. And like, it's debated how much of certain phrases or words influence the outcome of your piece of art. Okay. But this is how it's read by the system. So uh, if you were to put in something like bright orange California poppies drawn with colored pencils, that is what it will give you, okay? In Midjourney, this is how a prompt is read. It's almost read like a sentence, okay? So if you have like a reference image or like a URL, like I put in sketches into Midjourney in order to influence the outcome of what it's going to show me. That way I'm involved in the creative process. I'm not just like a passive, passenger in the car. And it's, you can be, I just don't work that way, with it. So then we have a text prompt. So this is the part of the prompt where you put in what you want it to think about, what you want it to create. And then you have your parameters, okay? So parameters change how the image generates. So it could be like the aspect ratio. So if you want it to be a specific size or dimensions, you can also select which model of Midjourney you want to work with. Sometimes I will work with older models of Midjourney to get more interesting results. Um, Midjourney has become a lot more visually literal. In its most recent iterations, it's going for like a lot of CGI and photorealism. And there are creative versions of Midjourney that you can pull up, and I'll show you that in a second. Um, but then we have upscalers if you want it to be, increased in the resolution that it's giving you and more. Okay, and those go at the end of the prompt. And I'll show you what that looks like when we actually go into Midjourney. So this is the anatomy of a prompt. So some of this is in capital letters. I don't know. I copy pasted from another slide and it decided that it was going to change it to capital letters and then refused to change it back. So I left it the way it was. So the subject is what you want to see in the image. So this is the main component of your prompt. Okay, so a dog sitting on a rock, for example. Then you have your medium. So how do you want it to look? Do you want it to be painted, sketched, digital art, photography? What would you like? Okay, visually. Then we have the style. So in comic book style, or surrealist, or drawn by so and so. You can even put in names. There's also colors, so what colors you want to see in it. Then we have lighting, so you can say like intense, gloomy lighting, or a spotlight, or ambient light, and it will incorporate that. Then you can say anything else, like if you want it to be a sad image, or if you want it to be a happy image, you can put in these sort of ephemeral concepts of mood, or emotion, and it will incorporate that into the image. Okay. So these are prompt examples. So these are three different types of prompts that you can do. And this is what they look like, and this is the result of what that prompt, was. So this one is the first image is of the Monkey King, and it says a hero, Chinese mythical Monkey King, Sun Wukong, characters in Journey to the West, fighting Buddha, detailed depiction, close-up, auspicious, colorful, delicate skin, lots of golden hair and golden beard, very handsome monkey's face. There is a golden sharp look in the eyes, holding Ruyi, the golden hoop, wearing chain-linked golden armor, wearing lotus root silk shoes, no text, no logo, Unreal Engine 5 rendering. Okay, and that's what Midjourney put out. So as you can see, Midjourney decided that it wasn't going to do certain things in this image. So it decided that it wasn't going to do like the shoes. It's not, the hoop is gone. We're focused on the face. So that's something that Midjourney does. It will just disregard certain words or phrases depending on what it decides to do. So you only have, a certain amount of control over Midjourney ultimately. Then we have a cute girl with brown hair reading books in her room. Illustration is done as a hand-drawn animation in the style of Studio Ghibli and has soft colors and gentle shading. It features a white background and includes subtle details like watercolor textures and pastel tones. This design adds an artistic touch to your project while maintaining the charming character of Miyazaki's unique aesthetic in the style of Studio Ghibli. So for this one, I think they used a text generator to generate the prompt for this. But either way, that was the result of the image. So you can see that like it incorporated some stuff and left out other stuff. And that's more of like a linguistic prompt instead of just a series of words. Then we have a dove flying, 3D, soft edges, glowy soft light, bright light, soft color, smooth gradients, cute. And that's what came out of Midjourney. So these were just examples of prompts. Again, there's no real wrong way to prompt, but some prompting will get you better results. Okay, so I'm going to demo Midjourney for us, hopefully, if every window in front of my screen will let me do that. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because it's got to, I have to reconfigure it to look at another window. So the thing about Midjourney is that Midjourney initially was a program that you could only use within Discord. But they've changed that now. They have a browser version. So anyone can just sign up for Midjourney and pay the subscription fee and get generating. So let me share this screen. There we go. Okay, can everyone see this? I'm assuming so. Okay. So everyone can see this screen. We're good. Okay, sweet. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so this is what Midjourney looks like. And you can see that these are images that folks are generating. And some of them will show you what prompts they used. And there's a lot of different kinds of images here. I like just sort of browsing these because I think they're really fun to see what people are making with Midjourney. But you can prompt from any page. So I can prompt up here at the top here. It says, "What will you imagine?" And I can just type in whatever. So if any of you want to suggest parts of a prompt in the chat, we can do one together. We can see what we can make. So if you want to suggest a medium Elmo, all right, with kittens, enjoying life, any moods, colors, styles of art, all right, sage greens, in the style of Picasso. All right, let's see what it does. Okay, so what it's doing now is it's generating these images. It doesn't come up here. It comes up in the create section. You can see that this is the stuff I was generating earlier. But this is the outcome. All right, so we have Elmo. Yeah, this is pretty good. Elmo, it got the green, it mixed that up. Then we have this random kind of Muppet, and then, this one's probably the closest one. But there you go. So it did an okay job. Not too bad this time. A lot of the times when we prompt it with something, yeah, the fourth one looks okay. And the cool part about Midjourney is that you can then vary this. So you can say, okay, this is the closest thing to what I'm looking for. And then you can vary it. So you can click very strong and it will give you new versions of it based on this one. And sometimes those versions are more accurate, sometimes they are way less accurate. Sometimes they come up with weird things like this, where it's like most of it's okay, and then he's got like this weird face. Um, but yeah, and then there are settings to this. So right now I'm using version 6.1. They just rolled out version 7. So I can select version 7 if I want. Yeah, I don't know if Elmo has ears. I don't think he does. So it decided to add those too. Um, and you can select like how much variety you want, how like quirky things, like if you do want Elmo to randomly have ears, you can tell it to up that weirdness factor and it will add more variation. Then we've got stylization. So like, if you want it to really closely match the prompt but be less creative, you can up or lower the stylization option. So if we like up it a bunch, let's do that. And we've got 7 selected here. And we'll just use that prompt again. Okay. I have to do personalization to do 7, it looks like. All right, that's fine. I'll figure that out later. So personalization is a new feature where you can train Midjourney about what you like aesthetically by liking images. and then it incorporates that into its data set for you. And then I guess lets you use their newest version, which takes a little while to do. So I'm not going to do that right now. You're essentially training your own, I don't know, pocket of Midjourney with that. Okay, so now that we've upped the interpretation quotient, you can see that it is now really going interesting places with this. So if you don't really have a final idea in mind, if you don't want it to stick very close to the prompt, you can again up or lower the stylization. Let's see what happens if we lower it a bunch. Okay, so now we're getting some really weird stuff now that we've lowered that completely and made it all like zero. So as you can see, like, there's a lot of options here. Even within this, even within the models, there's Niji, and Niji is the artistic version of Midjourney. The most recent version is 6, and this is what I use for things that are more like graphic design related, and or like animated style related. So if you wanted to do like anime or illustration, even paintings, Niji is the one that's trained to do that better than straight up Midjourney, because they're sort of taking straight up Midjourney into more of like a realistic, like a photorealistic, photographic kind of direction, I guess. And you can change like your image size. So this is what I mean by uh, your parameters. So you've got portrait, square, landscape, and then we can do, I don't know, like a forest, landscape, anime, background. Okay. So as you can see, this is what it comes up with for that. So sometimes the more general you make your prompt, the better of a result, especially if, again, you don't have a destination in mind with it. But yeah, so that's Midjourney. Does anyone have any questions about Midjourney in particular? Okay. Yeah, so right. So this background that I just generated, Anne, so yeah, so this is that's the artistic version. And then if we do the same thing in Midjourney, and I don't know, we can boost the stylization a little bit there. This is a pretty general prompt, so we may get something similar, but okay, no. So yeah. So this is what this looks like in just regular Midjourney. And I think for some folks this looks similar, but if you're doing like an animated project, this is way more accurate to what you'd be going for. This is getting into very detailed, almost like painterly manga, photographic kind of areas, I think. But essentially, like Midjourney is going to add a lot more like specific detail and potentially unnecessary detail, whereas Niji keeps it more to that illustrated kind of painterly style. Does that make sense at all? Okay, great. Okay, so that's Midjourney. I also wanted to go back to the PowerPoint here. And because I have more stuff that I want to show you. Switching screens with the sharing function is never an easy, smooth process. Okay. Okay, so the other thing that I want to show you very quickly is video. Video is a very cool tool that I use for a lot of my classes that has AI tools to help you create video content. It has accessibility tools like closed captioning, voiceover, and like text to voice and voice to text. It also has language translation. You can create videos from a text prompt. It has AI avatar and face cloning. It has AI voice cloning, and I've cloned my voice and it's very accurate. I'm actually really impressed with that. And it also has slides to video. So it has a lot of different very cool features. Again, it's a paid service, but my department, because we're making a lot of library tutorial videos and I do them for my classes, we went in for it. So I did want to demo that really quick, even though we only have about 15 minutes. It's logging me in. Nope. Sorry, every time I switch back to PowerPoint, it takes up my whole screen. Share. Okay, so this is what video looks like on the inside. You can create an avatar of yourself. You can record a video. I found that this is way easier than using Adobe, any Adobe product for video editing. It's not perfect at all, but it literally takes me maybe, I don't know, maybe a quarter of the time that I normally would with Adobe After Effects or Final Cut Pro or Adobe Audition or something like that. And for this one, I'm just gonna play this for you really quick.
Searching the FRC.
So this one, I actually created
just
like
tell you there's no results.
a voice for this.
Before you search, make sure full text located underneath the search bar is checked. And if you need,
So these are AI generated voices. And I also created one where I cloned my own voice in order to do it. And I think it's this one.
Submitted by the end of the course. Depending on the number of students in the course, however, handing in work past the due date may mean you do not get feedback on your assignment.
So that's a voice that I generated using video in order to say all the things I needed to say without the ums and the ahs and the editing of my voice and all that. It literally, I put it in with text and it came out as speech. So there's a lot of tools like that with video, which is pretty cool. You can see that I have like a folder for the recordings that I did, if any. And they have just so many tools here where it makes your life easier to create videos. And this is really handy for things like online classes, classes where you don't have instructor to student interfacing, but you want to demo something or you want something pre-recorded that sounds like you. This will take you like half the time and also probably be a little bit less stressful than like having to like have a demo that you're like, kind of rambling on or, that's you're doing live and then you don't get to edit it or something like that. it also, again, has text to speech, which is pretty cool. You also have templates here. There's a lot of stuff that you can do as far as like creating clips. You can also prompt the AI to do a text to video, which is pretty neat. So I think we're running out of time though. Are we, Katie? Are we out of time now? Did I take too long with the Midjourney?
Not at all. You have 9 more minutes to go.
Oh, okay, good. I was
And we
worried.
can go a little
Oh,
over
survey.
too.
Oh my God. Okay.
Just so I didn't forget, I do have to jet here to
Yes,
another
you do.
session in a minute. So I just wanted to make sure I covered all the bases. Sorry to rush you.
Yeah, no, you're totally fine. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about video? Okay. Um, the cool part about video too is that once you're inside of it, so I click the edit button for one of my videos here, you can see that you have stock music available to you. You have additional videos that you can pull in. There's stock imagery. There's also that avatar. It doesn't even have to be you. You can select one of their avatars. There's a voice clone option here. You can upload images from your computer. There's brand kits. There's a text-to-speech option. There's also audio options here. There's subtitling. So this is automatic subtitling based on what I put in here. So I don't have to worry about it. It automatically like listens to the audio and puts in subtitles. Sometimes you have to correct it every once in a while, but like it's rare. It will just automatically do this for you, and that makes it so much easier to make your videos accessible to your students. There's also additional text in case you want to add like titles for things. There are different elements like emojis, shapes, GIFs. It's just logos. You can just throw in kind of any asset that they have in here, and it's really, really useful. It's also really useful, like if you do have a subscription, you can do it with a team, so you can add other people to your team. It will increase the cost slightly, but for us at the library, it's made it so that we can do a lot more video content for our online students and our real-time remote students, which is really nice. Okay. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So then we have marketing with AI. And this is going to be a short section just because I'm not going to go through all of the marketing tools that you can get, through AI systems. But this is a list of some of them that either I have used or other people that I know of have used. This is Albert AI, that's good for digital advertising. There's Brand 24, which is great for online brand management. There's Zapier. Zapier is sort of a one-stop shop if you have a lot of different online tools that you're using. So if you're even a small business and you're using things like Slack and Discord and your website and social media and all of these different kind of tools, Zapier is sort of like a plug that lets them all talk to one another. So you could essentially send a message on Slack and Discord could see it. Or if you send, a social media post on X, then you could get it, also on Instagram or any other social media that you're posting to. Okay. It's sort of it's a hub almost for all the tools that you might be using that are online tools. Then we have Jasper. Jasper's really good for copywriting. So if you have to write emails or if you want to write a social media post, Jasper's really good for that. Wix is fantastic for website design. And again, this is just a short list. This does not cover all the tools that are out there as far as AI tools go. Within my class, I usually have my students analyze a few of these and go through creating an account and doing like the free version and seeing, what they can make with the free stuff that they offer. Wix is great for website design. I've designed websites with Wix. They have AI tools in there that make it really easy. There's also Canva, and Canva is graphics, websites, marketing. I have my students primarily use Canva in the class that I teach just because not all of them have Adobe knowledge. Not all of them are coming from a background of graphic design or Adobe or things like Photoshop, Illustrator, things like that. So if you're not a graphic designer, but you create jewelry, for example, and you need to advertise your jewelry, Canva is great for that. Okay. Squarespace is another website portfolio builder. They have AI tools in there that are very handy. There's AppyPie. AppyPie is great for websites and also portfolios. So I've had a number of students create portfolios using AppyPie, and they have been very successful with that. And again, that has AI tools built in. Then we have Blaze. Blaze is great for AI social media posting management, SEO. So like if you need to get your name first result list on Google or something, Blaze is a great tool for that. It handles all the SEO stuff for you. And then there's Buffer. So Buffer, I actually have used Buffer. I really like Buffer. It's great for social media management and posting, especially if like you're a single artist and you want to get your work out there and I mean, there's not enough time in the day to post to Instagram and X and Blue Sky and I don't know, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all of these social media platforms where uh, a lot of social media is what drives business to small creatives. And it can be really hard to keep track of all that. And Buffer really helps manage that so that it's not like a massive headache and you don't forget which ones you posted on or when or what the best time to post is or, who has an audience, who doesn't, like all of those things are sort of taken care of by Buffer, which is really nice. And that's it. So I think we are pretty much out of time, but does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any thoughts about the tools that I've shown you or any comments? You can either come off mute or just type in the chat, whatever you'd like to. Yay, I'm glad, Sophia. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I think a lot of folks kind of, AI is sort of this nebulous thing, and I think the more comfortable we get with these tools and the more we understand them, the more we're going to be able to inform our students and work with them. Um, I'm glad. Yay, I'm glad that you all learned something and that it was interesting. Yeah, the demos, I want to do more demos because these are sort of, mysteries, I think, altogether, as far as like what they can do, what the content is, like what's out there, because there's so much out there in general when it comes to AI. But I'm definitely gonna be able, I'm gonna share the slides with all of you so that you can get the lists that I made in there of all the tools that I have seen work well for others or myself. Um, I think Midjourney in general is a really interesting tool if you are like an artist and you're looking for art content because the stuff I've generated with Midjourney, I mean, like it's been in galleries, it's sold. So yay, thank you all. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Levi.
Thank you.
See what you get if you take his class? Come on.
I know, come take my class.
Bye, everybody.